Ivan, this beautiful red truck has a problem.
I'm Ivan.
I'm Nick.
And this is DIY Detail. This truck is in great shape. It's a 2016, but it has an affliction, and that affliction is water spots. There's a few ways of eliminating water spots. First, water spot remover, and that's what we're going to be using on this. But water spot remover removes the minerals that cause the water spot. And if they've been there too long, then guess what? They're etched and we need to polish. But if you try polishing first, all you're doing is driving those minerals a little deeper down into the clear coat, and they're gonna pop back up next time they hit the sun.
It's absolutely true. It's happened as a professional detailer. You don't think that chemistry applies to you, so you do the detail, you polish the car, you don't use water spot remover, it looks amazing, and then it comes back a month later with water spots. So
exactly.
Trust us, it does happen. Least method of aggression first, all the way to most aggressive, and that's what we're gonna do today.
Exactly. We're gonna start with a rinseless wash because it's not that dirty. And secondly, the rinseless wash and the water spot remover play very well together. So off we go. First step, let's get some rinseless wash on the surface.
It's nice to have one of these cake sprayers. It's also very doable to find one of these at your local hardware store, or just a regular, I don't know, weed sprayer or whatever, or just use a 16-ounce bottle with a sprayer, and you can get similar results as well. It just, obviously this makes a lot of sense.
It's a lot faster, a lot simpler.
You just hook up an air compressor, right? Pressurized sprayer, and then you're good to go for the whole car.
Like you mentioned, a bug sprayer does a great job. Basically, you just want to get some rinseless wash on the surface and let it start working.
One capful per gallon. Pretty easy, pretty amazing stuff.
Right, or 4 milliliters to a liter. So we pre-sprayed, the dirt is emulsified, it's breaking down, and now the Legacy sponge does the rest.
Where do you want me to start? I want to work in tandem with you here.
Start with the hood and work our way.
Okay. No pressure on the sponge. Let the rinseless wash, having pre-treated what's on there, work in your favor. So if you're out of direct sunlight, you can utilize the dwell time of the rinseless. Oh, thanks for getting that other half. Appreciate you.
That's why the ladder is here.
And then I'm not gonna go after this little bug gut or splatter from the tree with any kind of force, but what I might do is just let the agitation of the sponge work in my favor. Oh, see how that's going? I wish you guys could see this. And there's no pressure. I'm almost treating it like the clay towel, where I'm just letting agitation and chemical work for me, and that is all gone. So don't feel the need, if it doesn't come off with one pass, to start grinding. That is exactly what we do not want you to do with this method. It is a safe wash method without a hose. Most of the time, I use a hose anyway.
We will be using a hose at one point because the water spot remover is definitely best rinsed off.
So we could have actually done pre-spray with rinseless, hose off, and then rinseless wash again.
Right. Had this truck been off-road mudding, we would have done that.
Yeah, we do that pretty often.
But it hasn't been off-road mudding. It's just been sitting in a driveway. So.
Do you like red trucks? I know you like red cars, Ivan.
I like red, period.
I'm already missing the Fiat, and if you're a regular viewer on this channel, you know that was Ivan's Chariot for many a year, and recently it moved on. That's okay.
And actually, I owned black cars for like 30 years, so red is nice. Black is still my favorite though.
And you wonder why we have red and black for our company colors.
That's part of it. We have a couple different strategies we can use with the water spot remover. First is, we need to get it on the surface. So that's a given. We spray it on the surface, and you can just let it sit there. And once it's done its magic, rinse it off. But agitation is always a good thing to have. And that's why we like using the rinseless wash with the water spot remover. It's providing lubrication. We're gonna let the water spot remover sit on the surface for a couple minutes, And then with a rinseless, dampened, short nap microfiber towel, we're gonna agitate it just a little bit.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that this rinseless can be your foundation for not only an agitation step with water spot remover, but also with our decontamination towel. So you do rinseless wash, iron remover, decontamination towel, no pressure on the towel, and that's a great way to decontaminate your paint or clay your paint. But it's also a great foundation for water spot remover. Now, in certain cases, if I'm just trying to maybe revive the pores of a coating that's been clogged up by salt all winter, I may just do a spray of water spot remover after my rinseless wash and then let it dwell and rinse off. But if you're actually really trying to get water spots, you're gonna wanna agitate, because agitation is another important cleaning step, and we want every step that we can use in this process to go after these water spots, because as Ivan said, sometimes you have to polish them, and even before you polish the water spots, you wanna use this step to remove the minerals. Otherwise, you're just driving those minerals into the clear coat. Now, if you still see what looks like water spots after this, Ivan, it's not the minerals, it's the etching, right?
Right, because like a bird dropping, it is not pH neutral. It's sitting on that surface and it's working its way in. And the way a water spot works, through capillary action, the minerals that are in the water spot are attracted to the outside edge of that water spot, meaning that as the water evaporates, that water or those minerals are going to be deposited in that shape that we see. So whatever the shape of the outside drop was, and this truck is not hydrophobic, so you saw the water spots were not round. They had all sorts of weird oblong shapes. That's because that's how the water sits on this vehicle. But once the water is evaporated away, the minerals are sitting there and they're just going in, in, in. Now, normally, rainwater does not cause water spots. What causes water spots is people out there with a hose going, hey, I'm just hosing my truck off, and then letting it dry in the sun. Never a good idea.
No.
No. Nick, we have a microfiber towel in there.
So it's worth noting, Ivan, that we're wearing gloves because water spot remover is on the acid side of pH.
Right, exactly. And we have some short nap microfiber towels, and all we're going to do is agitate it. Now, we don't have to dip back in because we have the rinseless on the surface. And I'm using no pressure on the towel, I'm just moving it around, like using the decontamination towel.
Yes.
Same principle.
Obviously, water spot issues are going to be more prevalent unless you were hit on a horizontal, on a vertical surface with a sprinkler.
Right.
It's more likely this is going to be on a horizontal surface where you're having the worst issues.
And this vehicle, I think, is a victim of a sprinkler, especially on your side, because your side, the mirror had lots of water spots, and this side, it has basically none. So.
But we're just hitting every surface, right?
Right.
Some get the bumper too, just to get everything.
Yeah, while we're there,
right.
You have it, you may as well use it.
But don't expect this to remove every water spot ever, because they're all different.
Right. We're removing the etching, like we mentioned before, and the water spot itself, if it was etched into the surface, then we need a polishing step. And at some point, it may be etched enough that you're not going to remove it.
That's where we have a conversation about wet sanding, and we transcend DIY detail into a whole nother conversation.
And on modern paints, wet sanding is a no-no.
Yeah, you just don't have enough clear coat, right?
Exactly. If it's a repaint, yes, wet sanding is part of that operation. But on a newer vehicle, factory paint, wet sanding should not be an option. And some of you are enthusiasts. You want to get rid of all that orange peel. Well, trust me, if you've ever had a car without orange peel, you know how painful it is, because everything, I mean everything, shows up on that vehicle. The orange peel actually does you a service.
There's someone out there who's going to be like, what's orange peel?
Well, if you've ever eaten an orange, the skin of the orange is not exactly smooth. So if you look at an apple, the skin is smooth. You look at an orange, that orange has sort of a texture to it. And paint can have that texture as well. It's actually programmed in from the factory. If they wanted to have a perfectly smooth surface coming out of the factory, they can do it. Like I said, the orange peel does a lot of good things for you. It actually hides minor defects. And by minor defects, I mean a little scratch, some hazing. That orange peel sort of takes care of that. Dust nibs in the paint, which are, even in a factory setting, can often happen.
I would have thought a factory paint process would have been perfect.
It's great, it's never perfect.
Nothing's perfect.
Paint can rarely be perfect.
Have you ever seen perfect paint?
Perfect sections of paint, but not a whole vehicle. Even, you know, award-winning show cars, you can always find a defect or two. Now we're not gonna put this back in our rinseless bucket. We're gonna rinse it out in the sink, and then we can launder the towels. If you're working outside, you might wanna work in smaller sections. The reason being, we don't wanna let this dry on the surface. So I'm gonna start rinsing off the roof and work my way down. You'll notice a slight frothy appearance. We want to keep rinsing until that frothy appearance is gone. Nick, the gods of chemistry were with us today.
It's cool to see the water beading snap back. Are the water spots still there?
Water spots are gone.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I thought maybe we need to polish it.
Well, we'll dry a section just to make sure. And if it looks good, then we're good. If not, then we will need to polish. Now, I'm not going to use a drying aid because the drying aid can actually fill in a little bit.
Yeah, Jason Kilmer told me once that paint is a living, breathing thing.
Yes.
Like so many things at a minor level can kind of shock it or affect it.
Right. So we have still very, very minor etching going on.
So if you follow that light right at the end of my finger, you'll see the etching in the paint. It's not much, but it's there.
You can barely see it, but there's some of it there. So yeah, we will be, looks like we'll be polishing.
Ever so slightly.
So next step, now that we've determined we need to polish, we need to decontaminate. Never leave contamination on the paint before polishing. It's just gonna screw up your polishing process. So a little extra lubrication here.
It's one of these where if you use our decontamination towel, you don't have to polish after because it's not gonna mar the paint. But if you're going to polish, you always want to decon first. So just a little standard operating procedure knowledge there for you. I know when I first started out, Ivan, I wanted standard operating procedure in my veins for everything. Because I remember that's how I learned from you. And I'm like, well, there should be a standard operating procedure in every setting and blah, blah, blah. Sometimes the moment demands improvisation. But sometimes it's as simple as this. If you're gonna polish, decon first.
Right. So we're applying the rinseless wash back onto the surface. No need to do it with the sponge again. I can just use the sprayer. And we grab our decontamination towels and have fun.
Our decon towels are actually soaking in another separate bucket of rinseless, which is perfect, so we don't have to contaminate our wash bucket. Not a big deal, it just makes it smell. Still perfectly safe to wash with that.
Since we're decontaminating anyways, might as well add a bit of iron remover into the mix, making sure we're doing not only a mechanical decontamination, but a chemical decontamination at the same time. I'm gonna be starting with the roof. That way, when Nick gets to the roof on the other side, the ladder will be available to him.
No pressure on my decon towel.
Never. Pressure and detailing do not mix.
Unless it's the night before Riddler and someone scratches the car.
That's a different type of pressure.
One spray on the towel, one spray on the paint, put the towel exactly where you sprayed. I actually have enough iron remover in my towel that I didn't even add a spray to the towel. I just did one spray to the paint. I mean, the beauty of this system is that the rinseless wash, the lubrication, if you're not in direct sunlight, you just have a lot of working time, and you see how it just suds up like that? And if you're worried that you've taken this towel over more than a panel or so, and you're like, what's in that side of my decon towel? We have 4 sides, so you can just flip, fresh spray on the paint, and 1 on the towel face, and you're good to go.
Don't forget to decontaminate your windows while you're at it. You'll thank yourself later next time you wash the windows.
And what I'm doing here is just a great insurance policy after you've washed to get all the bug guts off of the front bumper, and as you mentioned, the windows too. That's what I was thinking, like especially that windshield. You ever done the detail where you're drying, you're all ready to almost like fully send it, and you just see a nasty bug gut in the center of the windshield, and you're like, I missed that. So it's really easy to shave that down early on in the detail with our decontamination towel. Paint feels like it's in pretty good shape.
It is. And you know, doing the iron remover step, a lot of people say, wow, you can't see it on this color. No, you can't see it, but it's there. And using the iron remover this way, it's cost effective. You know, a lot of people will have you spray the iron remover willy-nilly all over the vehicle. That uses a lot of product. This is one of the most expensive products in detailing. You want to make it go far. And this is one strategy to do so, and it's actually a great way of doing it. It's not just saving you money, it's saving you time, effort, and you actually get a better result. The front edge of the roof as well has a bit of stuff going on.
Not really a pro tip, just one from lots of experience. When you're kind of done with decon, use your towel to get the fender lips, because those can get real dirty. And those clean up real nice. Wash it first, don't make the decon stage the only way this gets cleaned, right? So hit it with your towel or your legacy sponge first. Just makes the whole vehicle look clean at the end.
Exactly.
Otherwise they can look real brown and dirty. It's like, did you miss a spot?
Next step, rinsing it off. Next, we need to dry the vehicle. So off we go. And we're not using a drying aid because we are going to be polishing this. So there's no need for a drying aid at this point. Because any marring we might introduce with the towel, that light polish is going to take care of it. And after you're used to drying your vehicle with a drying aid, boy, does it make a difference. Water does not dry very easily.
The drying blanket works better when it's actually wet. Slightly moist, right?
Yeah, most drying towels are that way.
Now the vibration from polishing is going to drive the endless amounts of water that Ivan, we know, like to hide in the mirror.
Exactly.
It's going to drive it out of the mirror, and that's going to annoy the crap out of me. So I'm just setting up my drip catcher 4000, also known as the drip catcher, to catch some water.
Exactly. Now in detailing, always use the least aggressive method first. And that's what we're doing here. We're just using a random orbit palm sander, one of our golden foam pads, and a little bit of gold standard polish. Nick, we got lucky. The least aggressive method is all that's needed. All that etching is gone. All we have now is bright red paint.
And the beauty of this is it's a palm sander, right? What is it, a 5mm orbit, like a very low cost, low aggressiveness polisher.
Exactly.
There's a couple options here.
Right.
If that didn't work for you, maybe you have a 21mm polisher that would be a little bit more aggressive.
or a 15, or even an 8
right?
millimeter.
I went all the way up to 21.
Right.
Or there's the wool pad, which is gonna give you a bump and cut because our polish is pad dependent. But the reality is this should do you for most paints, and that's why we tried it, and we're glad it worked.
Right, and we don't want to get more aggressive. The more clear coat we leave on this, the more times it can be fixed. And if this customer continues to park his vehicle under, beside, or close to a sprinkler and gets that city water on the vehicle just sitting there etching its way in, well, we have more clear coat to work with.
Typically, but not always, the more aggressive your pad, the hazier the finish is going to be. Now,
Right.
oftentimes you can get a great finish with the wool and our gold standard polish, but you're gonna typically get the glossiest finish with the yellow waffle as well, which is why we often promote just getting shiny paint and leaving behind the deep scratches. Anyway, this got what we needed to do. The paint's gonna be super shiny. We're gonna finish it all up, and we hope if you're interested in stuff like that in terms of polishing, you'll find us on this video right here.